Coon, we'd ask you to start, tell us about your time in the service, the approximate time period you served, what branch, what rank.
I joined the Army in September 1948. It was during the Berlin airlift. And there was 5 or 6 of us sitting around, so we thought, well, we'll just go down and join and fight the Russians. And so we all joined up, and the recruiter said, well, you guys will all stay together. So 2 of us went to one basic training unit, and 1 went to another one, and we were scattered all over. It ended up that all 4 of us ended up in Seattle, Washington, but I shipped over to Japan first. And when I got there, they put me in the 1st Cavalry Division for about 3 months, I think. I was on guard duty at Shinagawa. And then they broke the company up, and they sent several of us down to the 25th Infantry Division. And I was transferred to Baker Company of the 35th Regiment, 25th Division, in a little town called Otsu, Japan. It was also a submarine training base for the Japanese in World War II.
Is that right?
And one of our first assignments when we were down there was we were repatriating Japanese prisoners of war that were had been detained by the Russians at the Siberian salt mine. And I was only 17 at the time, and I had no use for the Japanese because of Pearl Harbor. But I had felt sorry for these guys because they were all huddled like a bunch of whooped dogs, and we almost had to drag them off the ship. The only thing we done, gave them a bath and deloused them, give them a suit of clothes, and we give them 200 yen, I think, and train ticket home. And they thought we were going to kill them and everything else, but that was probably my first taste of anyone as far as being in control of another country, or a prisoner of war, whatever.
Were there hundreds of prisoners involved, thousands, or?
We were down there about a month, and they were bringing probably 400 or 500, I'd say, each time.
And they would stay just a couple days, or not even that long?
Just long enough to get them cleaned up,
Okay.
get them dressed up, and send them home. But it was kind of a strange duty for me to be involved in that. I thought, well, boy, I sure never want to be a prisoner of war.
How, you said they were scared and worried about being killed. Did you get a chance to interact with them at all? Not very much as far, were you able to communicate very well with them?
Not really. They, even when, we'd send them through the showers and stuff, and they'd clean them up. The big problem we had was the communication with the languages. We did have interpreters that could talk to them, but they seemed to be, after we gave them the necessary money and so on and so forth, they seemed to relax and understand that they're free and they're going to go home.
Now, how long were you in the service?
I was in 5 years and 22 days.
Okay, and so then you did serve in Korea also.
Right.
Okay. Let's backtrack a little bit. Where did you do your basic training?
At Camp Breckenridge, Kentucky, 101st Airborne Division.
Okay. And then after that, you said you went out to Seattle and then on to Japan.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Took us 15 days, I think, by ship to go from Seattle to Japan.
When you got to that port that was a submarine training station, were there still a lot of the remnants from the training there?
Not that much.
Not
They
much.
had it pretty well cleaned up. And the 25th Division headquarters were stationed in Osaka. And then I think the 27th was right in Kyoto, and the 24th Regiment was in Gifui.
When you arrived at Japan, were you, what struck you most about the country, aside from the prisoners that you dealt with? What impressions did you have?
When we docked in Yokohama, the Japanese guys were skinnying up the anchor and looked like a bunch of ants trying to climb on a piece of bread or something. They was all getting on the ship, and they got paid for unloading the ship. And they got so much, I guess, for each thing that they took off, and it was very, very smelly.
What about the landscape? What was that region like?
It was just kind of shacks, the older houses and whatnot. But when we went down to the 25th of the Otsu, they were very old, outdated houses and things. They had the bamboo sliding doors, and everybody took off their shoes and
Was it a mountainous area there, or was that farther back?
There were some hills. It was not really mountainous. The mountains were around Tokyo was Mount Fuji.
Okay.
That was the main highest volcano, I guess, they had over there.
Now, after you served there for how long in that duty?
I served as in occupation duty for a year and a half.
Okay. So what was a typical day like for you?
Up at 6 o'clock in the morning, have a formation where everybody fall out and find out if everybody's still there on the A-wall. And then we'd have our breakfast, and then we'd go into training sessions, different phases of training sessions. Sometimes you'd go in and talk about a certain weapon. Then about every 2 weeks we'd go out in the field and do live ammunition problems, where they would set up like a bunker that we were supposed to attack, and we'd go through that. And I was a BAR man that's Browning automatic rifleman for a while. And I think in January 1950 I was transferred to the 60 millimeter mortar section. I had a Sergeant Henry from Dayton. He was a World War II veteran, and he kind of took me under his wing, and he wanted me to get into his platoon, so I did.
Okay. What was involved in that type of training?
Had to learn the nomenclature. There was different fire patterns, and we had to set up how to figure out how far the range was, and so on and so forth. So we had a standard setting on there. I think it was 62.4. That'd be 62 degrees one way and 4.4 at such an angle. And that was your basic. Once you zeroed in on that, then you could go Travis right or left or up or down. And if you wanted to go farther on the range with a weapon, you just lower the barrel a little bit. If you want to not go so far, you raise it. So if you move it right or left. And we worked on that quite a bit. I think that one of the things that I remember most is in March of 1949, we had a colonel come in, and they picked out certain guys for a parade unit for the 4th of July. And we had close order drill for 8 hours a day from March until July, and we went up to Tokyo, and we were parading for General MacArthur at the Imperial Palace on the ground. And I was the first one in, the second one in, and I was probably within 25 feet of John MacArthur.
Didn't get to speak to him at any point that day?
No, I didn't. He just sat there and watched us go by. But I remember it was beastly hot. Guys were falling out in the heat and everything. But the parade went on.
Do you remember anything about General MacArthur, particularly as far as his appearance, or how did he strike you? Did he just...
I had a good friend that served on his staff, and when he would walk out of the Daiichi building, the Japanese would be lined up there 3 or 4 deep, and they'd bow just like he was an emperor. And they really, he was a king of Japan.
As far as you were there for that year and a half, did the people pretty much come to accept your being there, and it was a good thing in their eyes, or how do you feel you were treated?
They were. I think they were had mixed emotions in a way. That the fact that they did get beaten in the war. The other part of it, though, was their economy started picking up because the American soldiers spent a lot of money. As a matter of fact, the Japanese made a lot of our trucks that we used in Korea, and I think that is what turned our whole economy around. So, and the kids, it was no different from those kids and ours, but they were very regimented. They had their uniforms, they all wore to school, and they all went together, and they had very strict discipline, which we don't have in this country.
How about now, after your time there, were you sent directly to Korea? Did you come back to the States for a while? Or?
No, we were on amphibious maneuvers outside of Tokyo, and we were on an LST heading back to Camp Otsu, and it came over the PA system that North Korea had attacked South Korea. And when we got back, we didn't think anything about it. We didn't even know where Korea was at. But anyway, we got back to Camp Otsu, and they took the non-coms, a lot of non-coms, and moved them to the 24th Division because they were all part of Task Force Smith, the first unit in Korea. And it was something we hadn't even given a thought. But we got back to Camp Otsu, and we were there one day. That was around July the 1st or 2nd, somewhere around there. And then they shipped us down to Kokura, Japan, which is on the lower island. So it was Kyushu, Honshu, and Hokkaido, I think. But this was on Kyushu. And we were there for probably 4 or 5 days, and then they put us on a Japanese freighter. We couldn't get down the hall or anything. It was, I mean, it's dumb. We stayed up on a deck, and it took us overnight to get to Korea.
So what were your orders as far as you knew when you got to Korea?
Well, really didn't know.
You were in the dark as far as what was going to happen.
Yeah, they didn't tell us anything about enemy identification. The only thing they said that the North Koreans were coming down from and took Seoul and so on and so forth, and we didn't know what they looked like. And anything was white, well, couldn't tell a North Korean from a South Korean, and the North Koreans would get people in to be dressed in white, and it filtered through our lines. And usually, the only way we knew they were enemies, they were attacking us almost from very daily. And we were able to, set up a defensive perimeter around Pusan.
Okay, so is that where you, tell me about when you entered Korea. Where you entered, and is that the episode you're describing right now? As far as when you first entered? Yeah,
when we first went in, we landed at Pusan.
Okay.
And it was a dirty, smelly town, and I thought it was about 200 years behind everybody else. Matter of fact, the roads were so narrow, our trucks, 6x trucks, would drive down the road and they'd be hitting the houses on each side. And we couldn't get our tanks through some of them.
Now, how far was that from the border of North and South Korea?
That was at the, I'd say about 200 miles. I'm not pretty sure. It's about, if you take Illinois and Indiana, and take Indiana and set it underneath Illinois, then it would be on like Louisville. I'd say probably around 200 miles.
And then when you arrived there, how many other U.S. forces were there? Or
there's only remnants of the 24th Infantry Division. We were the first full division to land in Korea.
And so you started setting up, you said you made a perimeter.
Well, we didn't realize what was happening half the time, and we got into 2 or 3 firefights, and we didn't know what was going on. You know, the thing of it is, you see these war movies, and everybody sees where everybody's at. Well, when you're in actual combat, you don't. The only thing you see is a guy next to you, and you don't know anything around where you're at unless they tell you. And it's a very lonely feeling, believe me. I remember the first night that we landed in Korea. We went up to Garden Air Base at Pohondo, and so we dug our foxholes, and it was probably around 5 o'clock in the afternoon when we got done. So as it got dark, this guy in the foxhole with me, and we looked out, and the bushes are moving. Both of us scared to death, I think. Them bushes are moving out there. I called back on the radio and I said, Sergeant, I said, them bushes are moving. And he says, when I get closer, don't open fire at me. I said, yeah, but they're moving. And, that's all night long. Sergeant, them bushes are moving. So anyway, it come daylight, and there were bushes out there. They were just blowing. But from that point on, I had a photographic memory of everything in front of me. And it was, I thought it was kind of funny in a way. We didn't know what to expect, and then after we got in a taste of combat, it kind of settled down a little bit. But the thing in combat, you never, while you're in a firefight or whatever, you're attacking or whatever, you never really think of what's happening. It's when it's over is when you start sitting there and shaking, thinking what could have happened.
And so when you said you got into 2 or 3 firefights pretty quick,
yeah,
after you got in there.
Yeah, we got.
I
always say we went over as boys and we became men overnight.
Were there injuries at that point when you first got in there in your unit?
We lost 30, 35 guys in one night.
And this is at the beginning when you first got into Korea?
Yeah.
So then did you just stay put for a little bit? Did you go ahead and?
We attacked 2 or 3 positions, and then we finally set up a defensive perimeter around the Nakong and Nam River. Actually, we defeated the North Korean army. I don't think people really realize that, but we didn't get in trouble until the Chinese came in.
Yeah. Yes, that's an important fact that needs to be known. What else about the Korean War do we need to get forward to the public? What stands out in your mind about it?
Well, I think one of the things that the American soldiers, when they were in Korea in the early part, they were accused of bugging out. They were not good fighters, so on and so forth. But what they didn't realize is we had nothing to fight with. They had artillery and tanks and everything else, and we had not got our support equipment over. And I know that several times when we held positions that we shouldn't have been able to hold. And I think the American soldiers have proved themselves to be as good a fighter as anybody around. The ammunition we had was practice ammunition in our mortar rounds. And sometimes we drop a mortar down the tube of a mortar, and it'd drop about 20 feet and come back down. Or it'd start sliding out of the barrel, and then you'd have to undo the barrel and tilt it back, and these are point detonator in your arm, and put your hands over the barrel like that and slide that projectile out. Yeah. I had to unload, I think, 67 of them one day. But, and then like our M1s, sometimes you had to operate them like bolt action. They were supposed to be an automatic, but they wouldn't eject the cartridge. They'd jam on you. They were all World War II leftovers there. And I think that was the thing that I think people should know, that they talk about the kids today, but I think that push comes to shove, if they're going to be the same as the ones that fought in World War II and Vietnam, Korea.
How long were you there until your supplies did reach you, or started to reach, or until you got reinforcements? You said you were one of the first units in.
We were probably there 15 to 30 days. We was, I know we had one position that they counterattacked on us. We had to pull back, and we were on a road coming back, and they had a couple of tanks set up, and they started to open fire on us, and we got off into the ditch like, and there was a mortar or artillery round that hit right in back of me, and it blew the rear end of my pants out. And it took me 2 weeks before I get a new pair of pants. That's about how long it took to get some of that stuff.
Did you notice a major change in the speed of the advancement once you got more people there and more supplies?
Oh yeah, we set up the Tucson perimeter, and they would break through once in a while, but mostly they were guerrillas. And that's something too that we had to live with, is the fact that they would, because we had to cover such a broad area with such few men, they were able to filter through our lines, and they'd done a lot of damage to our rear echelon people, headquarters and cooks and things like that. And then they would bring in women and get the guys involved there, and then they would stab them to death or kill them or some way. It was all just kind of guerrilla activity.
And then after you had been there and established this place, sort of a secure area, what was going on? Did you get much news what was going on in the other battles or not? Were you able to get much news?
Not really. The only thing I'd say is we're going to defend this position. I know we was in one firefight. We needed some ammunition and whatnot, and they put out some stars and stripes, and the headline says, "The Marines have landed, the war's over." You talk about some guys being upset. We don't want that newspaper, we want some ammunition.
Yeah. How long were you in Korea?
38 months.
What else happened to you while you were there?
We were actually on the front line for the first 5 months. We didn't get any relief. And when we broke out of Tucson perimeter, I think that was on the 16th of September of 1950. And we took one little town called Chinju, and then we fought our way over to Kunsan. That's on the west coast of Korea. And then the China Sea was that was kind of a port town for it. Then from there we started to work our way up north to past the 38th parallel, and our job was to clean up little pockets of resistance, and we had lost a few guys on doing that process. But the one thing I remember about that, I don't think the company commander really liked me, because I had to take my squad and we went on the skyline of the hills, and we were walking up through one area there, and I ran across this ammunition dump, and I called down to the Captain Commander, and I said, "Captain," I said, "there's an ammo dump up here." I said, "What are you going to do with it?" And he said, "Well, destroy it." I said, "What?" He said, "Destroy it." So I took a hand grenade, threw it in there, and run like the devil. And I didn't know it, but that was back into the hill. He was blowing the top of the hill off, and the debris was going down on the company, and Gannon called up, "What the hell is going on up there?" I just destroyed it, sir.
So did you catch any heat for that or not?
No, they finally, you gave the order, I just followed it out. Those are things, I mean, it was serious at the time, because all those who got killed with that stuff was flying around there. But you look back on it now, it's kind of funny. Then we had another incident where this kid in the squad got a hold of an oxen, and we were going to attack this hill, and we had extra ammunition, which is very seldom happens, so we put the ammunition on the oxen. And the darn oxen took off and started running. This guy's running along the rice paddy. The only way he could stop him was to shoot him. He had his 45 out, blasting away. He finally killed the oxen. We got our ammunition back. It was, like I say, it was funny. It's funny now, but it was pretty serious at the time.
When you came to the end of your time of service, what were the circumstances?
When I was discharged.
Was it because you had enough time or points or whatever to leave, or is it?
Well, unfortunately, the Chinese wouldn't let us have weekend passes. Let's see, it was in October 1950 when we crossed the 38th parallel. I think the latter part of it, and then we kind of fought our way up to a little town called Ipsop, I-P-S-O-K. And we had, about 203 in our company at that time. And we were supposed to be, 25th Division Rangers had lost a hill. And our company was supposed to take it back. So we took it back, but the Chinese counterattacked that night. 203 by 17 of us still alive.
Were you injured at that point?
I got injured later on in the day. Yeah.
What happened then when you were injured?
Well, they took the 17 of us, they captured us and took us across. Well, we tried to break through a roadblock they had, and we ran across the machine gun they had set up, and three of us started up the hill, and the guy in the middle, we knew he was hit, and I rolled over to try to help him. I had his heart in my hand, and just tore his chest wide open. And then we went across to one little river, like a creek or whatever, got on the other side, and they started dropping mortars in on us, and that's when I got hit in the hand. And then we got in the firefight there, and what was kind of strange is the trees, some of the trees were on fire. And I got in a position to fire my rifle, I had my feet around the tree. And my feet dried out, my boots and socks and everything dried from the heat of that. And luckily, I didn't get frost. Some of the guys did get frostbite, and they lost their toes. And one guy lost his foot, where gangrene set in. And then the temperatures were somewhere around 0 or below. And then they barged us all night long. And the next morning, they brought us into with another group of prisoners. And they got up there and they said their lenient policy and blah, blah, blah. And they're going to take us back and educate us and send us home and how great communism is. And so then they took us in and started interrogating individually. And I went in and sat down, and they started asking me about weapons, who the company commander was and all that. And they had our company roster. And they had a whole stack of our training manuals. And they started asking questions. I said, all you have to do is read the book there, it'll tell you everything that's in there. And I've never read the book, so I don't know what you're talking about. And every time they interrogate me, I give a different rank and a different address. try to kind of confuse them a little bit. And then for the next 45 days, we marched almost day and night to get up to Camp 5. But they did put us in some buildings, Korean houses, one or two nights, I think. And we heard gunfire, and we thought that our forces were getting closer and closer. Well, it so happened that the door opened, and I was sitting right by the door, and this North Korean had one of our Thompson machine guns. We had it pointed right at my head. And the Chinese guard grabbed him, I guess, or Chinese instructor, but anyway, he pulled him back out and found out that he had slaughtered several of our guys out next to us. I thought I bought the farm that day.
All 17 of you were taken prisoner of war that survived.
Yeah.
And were marched. And so, what
Only
would you,
6 of us come out of prison camp then.
only 6. Just because, were some actually murdered, or was it just the harsh living conditions?
Some of them I think were murdered. Most of it was the living conditions. I know I had beriberi, I had yellow jaundice, I had pellagra, and we had something with worms like big long night crawlers, and they'd crawl out of your throat and mouth, and you'd pass them when you go to the bathroom. You had lice. It was from November until about June or July before we could take a bath or get water to wash with and stuff. We didn't have any soap, but then somebody had a pair of scissors and you could be able to clip your beard. I never did grow much of a beard, so I didn't have to worry about that, but we'd get the lice in there. They were like hog lice. And we'd sit there and squeeze in, and then they would put us out on a hillside, and there'd be a Chinese instructor, and then I don't know what this other guy's was, but he was speaking Chinese, and then the interpreter would interpret in English, and then we were supposed to have group sessions after that to discuss what went on, and they didn't really much care about the fact that they'd give us a test of who started the war. We'd say the Russians. And I know that we would steal shingles off the guard shacks to build fires to help keep guys that were sick, kind of get them some heat. When we got caught, they'd take us down on the ice and make us hold a shingle over our head for 6 or 7 hours at a time. And you sit there and wiggle your toes and keep your feet circulating. That was
Were you basically in a shack with several other prisoners? Is that the type of?
7.
Several?
Yeah,
Several?
probably. In a little room, say 8 by 10, they would put 30 or 40 of us in there, and we'd all have to lay on their side, and the guys laying this way would have their feet in the chest of the guys opposite on down. When one guy wanted to turn over, everybody had to turn over. I woke up one morning, I think in January of '51, a guy on either side of both of them was dead. Well, then we had to do with body heat to keep each other kind of warm.
What happened when someone died? Were they the remains sent home? Were they disposed of there?
But we had, like these 2 guys that died, we didn't tell the guards they were dead until after we got our breakfast, because everybody got to share a little bit of it then. But we'd drag them across the ice. It would be sometimes 2, sometimes 4. We'd take them up on a hillside, and we just cover them up with ice, snow, rock, branches, tree branches, whatever we could find. And those remains are still over there. We buried somewhere between 1,600 and 2,000.
And the time that you were a prisoner was how long?
33 months, 4 days.
And so, were you separated from the 6 that survived, were you separated from each other in this
Just
camp?
three of us were separated. And then one of those was separated later, but because they took the enlisted men, and then they took the non-commissioned officer, like the sergeants and stuff. They said we were a bad influence on the enlisted men, so they separated us, and they separated the black soldiers from the white soldiers. And they went down to separating the young and the old, and the educated and the uneducated. I guess it was their philosophy to divide and conquer. That's what they tried to do. It didn't work. I mean, for the most part, most of the people over there were really angered by the fact that they, tried to tell us how much better communism is, and they beat us sometimes, and they let them feed us sometimes.
What would you normally eat?
We had millet, like bird seed, that was boiled and very, very dry. We had maize, which is like the broom corn, they'd boil that. And one time they brought in boxes of fish, and we took the lids off of them with maggots on top. So we scraped the maggots off and ate the fish. It was very, very salty. Dr. Shaddis was in the 2nd Division, and he stayed with the wounded, and the Chinese captured him, and they threatened to shoot him and continued to help the wounded. Anyway, he helped the wounded, and he was in our camp for a while, and we had one guy that had a gunshot wound in the arm, and gangrene was setting in. Well, Dr. Shaddis took him down by the latrine, or what we called the latrine, and got some maggots and put on there and wrapped him, and that ate the dead skin or something. I don't know. But anyway, the guy's arm healed, and it had just very little scar when it was over. And he would just give us, Dr. Shaddis, just give us verbal advice on what to do. But one time when he told the kid from London, Ohio, Jim Kokenar, both of us had yellow jaundice and beriberi. Dr. Shaddis told us, don't work, don't do anything. So you're better off let him shoot you. Well, I took his advice, and they threatened and everything else, and Kokenar went out on work detail. And he come back, and that night he died. But had he stayed, if he would have listened to the doctor, he would probably been alive today or close to it.
Was it just one condition after another while you were in there? Were you constantly sick?
Yeah, for the most part. You get well, and then you get some other disease. We had one guy that I was with, he got night blindness. And when I had to go to the latrine at night, he had put his hand on somebody's shoulder because he couldn't see. It was a vitamin deficiency is all it was. That's what I think what we suffered from most, malnutrition and lack of food. I don't know how we ever got rid of the worms that we had.
Did you have them when you were released? Or did you have to receive treatment for that?
No, I didn't have them when I got released. I don't know how we got rid of them. They didn't give us anything. When I come out, they were talking about bacteriological warfare. And they come out with an injection that's going to give everybody a shot to fight this bacteriological warfare. Had one needle, and we had about 600 guys that went through there. And I got about 400, and I think it took 2 of them to hold the needle, and one to hit the hammer and drive it in my arm. I take it out of him and put it in the next one. But, you have a lot of ill feelings when you worry about your family. They don't. The only thing they have is maybe a telegram that says your son is missing action in North Korea. And then we weren't allowed to ride home for over a year and a half, I guess. And then because of, when you go on burial details, these guys. It was real cold, and what they do is they'd say the 23rd Psalm over the Lord's Prayer. And the guard would be shouting at us to, hurry up and so on and so forth. But we'd sit there and wonder why it was him, why not me? And you had a guilt feeling on that. And I know when we first got captured, I stayed with a lot of us most of the time. We felt guilty about getting captured, felt we let our God down, our fellow soldiers and our family. And didn't realize.
What, if you could bring a message back for those people that you did have to bury and that did not survive, what do you think is something that you could say for them or say in their behalf?
That he died a hero.
What's your definition of a hero?
One that gives their life for the country. I think that the real heroes, as far as I'm concerned, are the ones that they're buried. We were survivors.
I'm sure you spoke a little bit about that, kind of having the survivor's guilt. Was that something that took a while to get over? Is it something that stays with you?
I still have it. The one thing that did help, I picked up a book called Disaster in Korea. And we were at Books and Company. And I just happened to pull it down. I opened it up just to, I don't know why, it opened up. At the page I come to, it had, and I'd never seen it before, it talked about B Company and what happened to us on the night that we got overrun, about the Chinese attacking at midnight, and we fought them all night long, and the next morning we were on 17 still alive. And that action, by delaying the Chinese that long, helped our sacrifice helped save the rest of the division. And that gives a little better feeling, but you still have that. The soldier needs his weapon once it takes it away from him. That causes a lot of emotional stress.
The people that you said 2 or 3 of you stayed together that were captured out of that 6. Were you able to, I guess when you're in that tight space, you are able to speak and talk to each other in the day? Were you made to go out and do work if you were healthy enough to, or what did they do with you all day?
Yeah, we'd have to go on rock details. They'd take us maybe 5-10 more out of camp, and we'd carry rocks about as big as the rock that you could carry. And then they had wood details. We'd have to go on wood details to cut firewood for the guards. They were the ones that got the firewood, we didn't, so we just stole the shingles off the roof. And
did you have just like something like a trash can for a heat source, or?
no, the Korean huts are built. You build a fire at one end of the house, and there's a tunnel that goes through there, and the smoke comes out the other. I think it was the first radiant heat they ever had.
But that was just minimal heat, because you said how cold you were.
Yeah, it got to be, I think the coldest they said it was somewhere around 45 degrees below zero.
And then you could move in and out of your hut. You didn't have to get permission to go out, like you were in a camp and you could move somewhat between hut to hut, or not?
Not too much.
Not too much?
Yeah.
So you had a guard at your hut or in your area?
We had one come in every morning, and it was rather amusing, but he would come in and had like a swagger stick, and he'd punch us or hit somebody or something, and so we told him. One morning he'd come in and we told him, I said, Americans don't like to be woke up that way. He said, we get angry and get hit and stuff. And he says, how American like to wake up? I said, we like to be sung to. And he says, sing? Sing what? We tried to sing You Are My Sunshine. And he come in one morning and he had that swagger stick and he slid the doors open and he says, You are my sunshine, wake up. Everybody jumped up real quick and he had a big smile on his face. About a week and a half later he come in and he was sad that they were shipping him out. He says, they're going to send him to the front. And he said, I don't want to fight America, but I like America. He probably 18, 20 years old, something like that. But he always, every time I hear the sunshine, I think of him.
Now, was your, how did it happen when you were released from the camp? What happened?
We didn't even know the war was over for almost 30 days. And then they told us we were going to be shipped out and brought in some trucks. And it had been raining from on the 1st of August to around the 15th. And where we were at, we're all mountainous country. And I think that was probably in the morning sometime we took off, and by nightfall, some of the roads and stuff had washed out. And they actually cut trees down where to build a kind of a bridge across. And we got underneath the trucks because the rocks and stuff was falling from up above. And then they drove the trucks across, drove a truck across that thing. They drove the trucks across, and we had to walk across it like walking on a log to get on the other side. And then they took us to a train station. We got on a train, and as we was going down, water was coming up over the floor of the train about 4 inches. And we looked out, and all you could see was water. And I thought, well, maybe this thing's floating. But it had floated up there, and then they took us in. I think we went into Pyongyang train station, and then put us on trucks and took us down to Pyongyang. And then we was in. I was in a group that they had give us prison time to finish our sentence for things we'd done, sabotage and stuff. And I think I had 5 years or something like that. But, anyway. They come in and called 3 or 4 of us out and put us on the trucks and took us down to Panmunjom. And we told them about the camp that we were in. They said they weren't going to release these guys and stuff, but they did a couple days later. So it was then we come through and they had high-ranking officers there, shook our hand and sent us through they remind me of the Japanese prisoners. They sent us through the shower, deloused us, gave us clean clothes. One more we wanted any money. Yes, we went into a big mess hall, and they asked, they had soldiers waiting on us. They wanted to know if anything we wanted, we could have it. And so I ordered 2 hot dogs and a hamburger, a glass of milk, a cup of coffee, and some ice cream.
Did it make you sick? Did it make you sick having that much food?
I took 2 sips of coffee, that's all I had. I didn't touch anything else. I guess so. I was nervous, I guess. But I didn't. That's all I took, just a couple sips of coffee. And it took a long time, probably a couple, 3 weeks before I was able to eat, to get on regular. I weighed about 185, maybe 90 when I got captured. And when I got out, I weighed 120 or 115, something like that.
Otherwise, aside from being so thin, were you in pretty good shape when they opened up the camp?
Not really the best of shape. I was probably in better shape than a lot of guys.
Were you able to walk?
Yeah, I was able to walk. That was no problem. I wasn't able to sleep, but I was able to walk. You get so tensed up, I think, that you don't realize you're free for a long time. And I know I see police officer carrying a gun or something, and he's got one and I don't. And then it has a little bit of effect too. It doesn't now, but it did then.
When the day that they came to your camp, did someone just show up and say you're being released, or how did you get the word?
Oh, they just said they were going to put us on trucks
Okay.
and take us down south. And that was, I think, I got released on the 31st of August, which was a little over a month after the war was over.
And then you got on the ship, came back.
Yeah, I got on the ship. Now, our people interrogated us almost daily for 8 or 9 hours a day. And we would go through the list and things of guys we knew, whether we helped bury them or whether we didn't. We knew them, how they died, where they were buried. And this went on every day for 15 days.
And you said your family got very little information. You said they went almost a year and a half until you were able
She
to.
got a telegram the day before Christmas that my name had appeared on a prisoner war list. And then she really didn't know for sure until she went in San Francisco 33 months later.
So what was your family, where is your family from?
All from Dayton area,
Okay.
yeah.
So you didn't see them until you got back to Dayton?
Well, my brother and his wife, my mom and dad flew out to San Francisco to meet me.
What was that like?
Emotional. I couldn't recognize my mother. She had aged so much, and I'd been gone for 5 years. I joined for 3 and ended up going 5. That don't make sense.
What have we overlooked today? What would you like to say?
What would I like to say? A lot of people look, I guess, at some of us as heroes, but I feel we were just soldiers doing the best job we could do, and we got at the wrong place at the right time. We're all proud to be Americans, and if we had to do it again, we'd do it again.
Tell me a little bit about your organization that you're president of.
It's the Korean War Veterans Association. Right now we have about 18,000 members, and the purpose of it was to build a memorial in Washington, D.C. Now we've got chapters in different states and departments in different states, and we're expanding, trying to get the camaraderie within the Korean War veterans themselves. And it's been kind of, well, we picked up about 6,000 members since I've been president, and they've had some problems in the past, money missing and so on and so forth. But all that's been taken care of, and we've gotten all of our problems straightened out. And a lot of people that have dropped out are rejoining, and we're working to have a real fine celebration in Washington, or in Arlington, Virginia, for the we'll place a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier, and we'll have a memorial service at our memorial, and they've got some other activities planned. But when I took office, we had something like $7,000 in the hole, and we're getting close to $700,000 now with no bills or anything else. So,
How long have you been serving there?
I'm in my 5th year. I got 1 more year.
So now I want to understand this. You were critical in the Korean War Memorial that is in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah.
Okay. The one with all the soldiers?
Right.
Okay. So that was your original purpose, was to get that memorial built?
Yeah, and that was also to unite Korean War veterans. And that was to help assist families of Korean War veterans and try to find out what happened to the missing in action. There was 8,100 missing in action. And,
How many are still missing?
There's still over 8,000. Matter of fact, I was in North Korea in September. This year I was invited over by the Department of Defense, and our purpose was to observe the excavation of remains. And they found, I think, 13 while we were over there. And they'll send the remains to Selhi there in Hawaii, the Sentinel Identification Laboratory, and tried to get some identification, use DNA testing and so on and so forth. So that was quite an experience.
Did you go back to your camp area where you were prisoner?
No, they wouldn't let us go there, but they took me back to about within a mile and a half of where I got captured. That was a roughie.
I bet. So were you at the dedication of the memorial?
Yes, ma'am.
I bet. Up there on the podium, huh?
No, I wasn't on the podium. I stand out in the audience. It was too hot to be sitting in the sun.
Well, we went last year to the Library of Congress and saw the Korean War Memorial. And I think we felt it was one of the most moving memorials there.
Absolutely.
The Vietnam Memorial is moving to a sense of more so to the Vietnam veterans. The Korean Memorial with the faces on the walls and the faces on the statues, that you can see the anxieties, the apprehension, the fear.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody that says they're not afraid in combat, they're crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
we do things and we act because we were trained to act, not necessarily because we want to.
Just in closing, I know you've talked about how you feel about your time in the service. Is there anything that you would like to say about serving in general, or about the military in general, your time in the military? Anything that you would like to wrap up with?
I'm just thankful that we have the volunteers that we have today, and I appreciate their service to our country. They are never was-is, and I figure we're has-beens. But we look to them to keep the country free as the people before us looked to us to keep the country free.
Is there anything else that we need to put into this interview?
Let's see, I'll celebrate my 49th wedding anniversary next month.
Wonderful.
Oh, wonderful.
And my
So you
72nd.
married after you got back, because you said you were just 17 when you went in.
Right.
Married a local girl here?
No, she was from Massachusetts.
Okay.
A guy that I was in camp with asked me to be the best man at his wedding, and he got married in Massachusetts. And so I went up there with, she was maid of honor, and I was best man.
Cool.
It's also my 72nd birthday.
Wonderful.
Oh,
I
that's true.
got married on my birthday, so she'll never forget my birthday.
Good idea.
Yeah.
You have a family?
We've got 3 children, 5 granddaughters.
Okay, well, we thank you very much for coming in. It's been an honor to meet you.
Just tell you like it is.
Thank you.